Good morning and welcome to this month's webinar. My name is Andrew Demers. I'm the Communications Director at the New Hampshire Insurance Department, joined by a number of my colleagues in state government, Commissioner DJ Betancourt from the Insurance Department, Deputy Commissioner Keith Nyan from the Insurance Department, my counterpart over at Safety, Tyler Dumont, Trooper Sean Kennedy, and Christopher Merrow from the New Hampshire Insurance Department. We are very happy today to be talking about safe driving and auto insurance for younger drivers and new drivers. We're happy to entertain questions. And so if you have any questions during the presentation, please utilize the chat window. You can type your questions in and we'll address those at the end. I'll now turn it over to Commissioner Betancourt for some opening remarks.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate everybody joining us today for our monthly webinar. Really appreciate our colleagues over at the Department of Safety partnering with us to put on today's presentation. As you may be able to see, I'm pulling a little bit of double duty today, being both commissioner and being responsible for getting my son off to a doctor's appointment, trying to demonstrate some good behavior on the topic today. I pulled over, I've got my seatbelt on, I'm in a safe place, and I'm conducting the call from my vehicle. You know, I'm in my early 40s now, but I can still vividly remember the day that I got my driver's license. It was unbelievably exciting. There was a great sense of excitement. There was a great sense of freedom. It was the beginning of really starting to feel like I was becoming an adult. And there were great opportunities there. But what I'm hoping the young people who are watching or will watch today's presentation appreciate is with that excitement, with those opportunities, comes some real and serious responsibilities, not just for safety, which I'm sure our friends at the Department of Safety will discuss, but also for how ensuring that you're a safe and responsible driver can impact you financially, especially when it comes to your insurance. Understand that a distracted driving citation can result in fines, and that stinks. When you're a young person, you tend to have pretty tight budgets, but it's also going to have a financial impact on your insurance premiums. You may very well lose your safe driver discount if your auto carrier offers that. It's going to potentially result in placement in a higher risk rating tier for you, and it will almost certainly result in premium increases when it comes time to renew your auto insurance. And so there are real consequences to not doing what you're supposed to do, not doing the responsible thing when you get behind the wheel. And we're going to talk more about that today and hopefully give you some good advice and some good information to ensure that you're not putting yourself in a difficult position. So with that said, again, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll pass it off to our first presenter.
Thank you, Commissioner Betancourt. Trooper Sean Kennedy here, everybody. Welcome. Honored to be here. Honored to be part of this, pass this message of safety along. And you hit the, I think you hit the nail on the head there, talking about that excitement and that freedom when you get your driver's license. And there's a lot of freedom that is involved with that. But as you also mentioned, there's a lot of responsibility that comes down the road with that, and a lot of, unfortunately, that can be consequences for taking advantage of that freedom as well. We'll get right into the presentation here. Short presentation here on just mostly distracted driving, but we'll talk about some other things at the end of this tour as we go along. I'll throw some other information, maybe a few statistics out there as well. So this is just a brief presentation on just understanding some of the New Hampshire distracted driving laws. So we can go to the next slide. Probably a little commercial here for you.
When you don't keep your eyes on what you're doing, it can be downright dangerous to you and others, especially when you're behind the wheel. Put your phone down.
All right, a little bit of a comedic value there, obviously, with that, but it really drives a pretty serious point home that no matter what you're doing, you know, something distracted and you're not paying attention can have some serious consequences, particularly behind the wheel. So people ask, what is distracted driving? As you can see right here, it's really anything that can take your attention away from that task. It doesn't necessarily have to just be your phone. Where everybody talks about the hands-free law, which we'll get into here in just a second, but the distracted driving can be anything. It could be, as we've seen, people reading the newspaper, or applying cosmetics as they're driving, or their dog in their lap and they're petting their dog, or they're eating a bowl of cereal as they're going down the road, or looking away, or even being involved in heavy conversations that's taking their attention. So it's anything that really focuses your attention or takes your attention away from the task at hand of driving. Next slide. I think we just took care of those. So since 2023, in 2023, we had over 4,500 non-fatal crashes. That was due to some type of distracted driving, which it really accounted for about 16% of all crashes in the state. However, you can scroll forward here. Distracted driving, as it says here, is often underreported, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. Post-crash, when we come to a crash, it can be often difficult to prove that there was a distracted function. It makes it much higher, improbability for us to be able to determine the cause of that crash. So what is hands-free? No handheld devices. You can scroll through these here. So as you can see, it's illegal to use any handheld mobile device while driving. When stopped, even when you're momentarily stopped in traffic at a red light, you're supposed to be hands-free, focused on the task at hand. Teens, you are not, if you're under the age of 18, you are not allowed to use your phone at all, not even in a Bluetooth function. We require the phone to be used in a Bluetooth function, but if you're under the age of 18 years old, you cannot use it at all, unless it's obviously you see the exception that just popped up here, some type of reporting of a genuine emergency to 911. Move on to the fourth box there. So if you are found to be holding or using your handheld device while you are operating a vehicle, you can be stopped. You can be issued a fine for what's called the hands-free law, which falls under New Hampshire RSA 265:79C. It comes with a $100 fine plus penalty assessment, which totals out to about $124. If it could be crash resulting, there's another charge that could be brought forward as far as enforcement, which would be negligent driving, which comes with penalty assessment, a $310 fine as well. So just to give you an idea, and this is just all encompassing for all age groups right now, year to date, the New Hampshire State Police have enforced over 2,200 hands-free violations in the state, and about 3% of those are youth drivers under the age of 20 years old. So talking about the fines here, I mentioned the first offense is a $100 fine plus penalty assessment, so it's $124. Second offense has to happen within 24 months of the first one. And the second offense is $250, but it's with penalty assessment, it's $310. And that third offense within 24-month period is a total of a $620 fine. And we do actually see the third offenses out here on occasion. So again, here under the age of 18, a single violation can lead to your license being suspended or revoked. A hands-free violation, a lot of people talk about a point system, how many points? And we get this question a lot on the side of the road, whether we're issuing any type, if it's a moving violation, some people will ask us, hey, does this put points on my license? And if it's a moving violation, inevitably the answer is yes. Sometimes they'll ask how many, and the point system particularly varies based on the offense, but a hands-free violation is 4 points towards your New Hampshire driving status. Distracted driving also, this comes into the New Hampshire's move over law, which is relative to New Hampshire 265:37-A. So distracted driving in our work zones. Forward to the next piece of this as well. So the move over law, like I just mentioned, require you to move over or slow down, substantially reduce your speed if you are not able to vacate that lane that is partially or wholly blocked by an emergency vehicle, or the law has now actually been updated to any vehicle parked that might be broken down on the side. Doesn't just have to be an emergency vehicle. You are required to slow down, greatly reduce your speed, and vacate that lane. If you are not able to vacate that lane due to heavy traffic, you are still required to at least greatly reduce your speed. And it says here, failing to do so carries a $310 fine. The fine generally for the move over law is about $93, but it can result in that negligent operation charge as well, which is that $310 fine. So the distracted driving is a major issue for our work crews out there. So right here, you've got the crash attenuator that was crashed into, a distracted driving case here. We just had one at the tail end of the winter as well, a distracted driving case, I believe it was on Route 16 in Spalding, on the Spalding Turnpike towards the end of winter, where a plow truck was driven right into the back of, and that was due to a distracted driving case too as well, and the subject being on their telephone. All right, next slide. So the faces here, this is just unfortunately one of many, and lifelong poor Gabe Simpson here. He's an 8-year-old boy that was killed due to distracted driving. He was in the state with his family up in Albany, New Hampshire back in 2022, and they were involved in a motor vehicle collision. Obviously, they weren't at fault, but a distracted driver had crashed into them, and poor young Gabe, 8 years old, lost his life. So it's not just him. We see a lot of serious bodily injury or death-related crashes, and a lot of non-reportable crashes, or minor crashes, all really stemming from this distracted driving. Move on to the next one. And what we ask of our youth, or even anybody, and I would ask our youth, even if you see, this goes beyond just being in a vehicle with your friends. If you're in the vehicle with your parents or another adult or guardian, be that leader, speak up, say, hey, listen, that's certainly not safe. I value my life. Please, put the phone down, pay attention to do, and just, we say, take that pledge, be proud to do your part and make smart choices behind the wheel. Unfortunately, our youth out there, you really lack a lot of that driving experience and the wisdom. I know a lot of the people who are with me on this webinar here, most of us have been driving for several years. It's really hard to express the amount of wisdom that you get where you can pretext other driver behavior. You just, unfortunately, at these 16, 17, 18, and maybe the first several years of your license, you really lack a lot of that driver experience. All right, next slide. It should be that one as well. Just wanted to touch base. That's the last slide of the presentation, but just wanted to touch base on another thing that can really affect youth operator licenses, or our youth operators out there, is really speeding as well. Speed is a big concern throughout the state. The New Hampshire State Police, highway safety and traffic safety is pretty much one of our number one priorities that we deal with out there. Year to date, the New Hampshire State Police have stopped over 21,500 violators just for speed in the state as well. And I would say, about, running some rough numbers, about 6% of those are under 20 years old, which is still 6% too many. And going back to talking about that driver experience that you see, and there's everybody knows, if you are under the age of 20, you have the under 20 program, which I'm sure that you learned in driver's ed, that if you get a moving violation and you're under 20 with that under 20 program, you can suffer a driver's license suspension. There's a new provision to the youth operator this year that requires that law enforcement officer that if you get stopped as a youth operator doing 30 plus miles an hour over the speed limit, we are required to do an administrative action letter to the Department of Safety, or the Department of Motor Vehicles. We're supposed to do a letter to them detailing the incident, and they can suspend the license for, I believe it's close to up to, I think it's initially 90 days, but they can take it up to 6 months as part of that as well. So if it's anything related to 30 plus miles an hour over this posted speed limit, anything impairment related or reckless operation related. And reckless operation has many faces, but particularly relating to speed, which would be anything at 100 miles an hour or more. So I think really just education. I thank you for the time here, but I think really education and enforcement, and even asking our parents who are tuning in here as well to really help spread that message to your parents, constantly remind your teen drivers out there to exercise caution and make good decisions, and set that example for them as well when you're behind the wheel.
Okay, good morning, and thank you everybody for being here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about safe driving and auto insurance for young drivers in New Hampshire. including some newer issues that are becoming increasingly important, like food delivery driving, rideshare services like Uber and Lyft, and some new accident reporting apps that some of the carriers have now. For many young drivers, insurance feels expensive, confusing, and frustrating. Some people even consider driving without insurance or reducing coverage in order to save money. The reality is that one serious accident can create financial consequences that last for years. So my goal today is to help to explain why insurance may cost more for some young drivers, why maintaining coverage is important, how delivery and rideshare driving affect your insurance, how technology and apps are changing accident reporting, and how safe driving habits can protect both lives and finances. So on to this first slide, we're talking a little bit here about why insurance is so expensive for young drivers. One of the most common questions that young drivers ask is, why is my insurance so expensive? So insurance companies calculate premium based in part on risk. Statistically, younger and less experienced drivers are more likely to be involved in accidents. Some contributing factors include their inexperience, as Trooper Kennedy was talking about, inexperience reacting to emergencies, distracted driving from phones or passengers, speeding, driving late at night, poor weather judgment. And now many young operators are spending more and more time on the road doing part-time work, pizza delivery, doing DoorDash, Uber Eats, Uber or Lyft. The more time somebody spends driving, the greater the likelihood of eventually being involved in an accident. If we can go on to the next slide, please. So New Hampshire is unique for many different reasons, not the least of which when it comes to insurance is that New Hampshire is the only state in the union that does not universally require auto insurance. However, drivers do remain financially responsible for accidents. Sometimes people misunderstand this and assume that insurance is optional or unnecessary. The important part is if you cause an accident, you are legally responsible for the damage and the injuries. That means medical bills, vehicle repairs, property damage, legal claims. Without insurance, those costs can become personal debt. So even though insurance may not always be legally required in the same way as other states, maintaining coverage is still one of the smartest financial protections a driver can have. And up on the slide here, you can see that our minimum state liability limits are not overly high, $25,000 per person, $50,000 per accident, and $25,000 in property damage can go very, very quickly in a claim. Slide, please. So many young operators think I'm a careful driver, I don't drive far, or insurance is too expensive. But accidents can happen very quickly. In New Hampshire, weather adds another risk factor. And those of us who live here in New Hampshire and have lived here for a number of years know I can be on the seacoast where it might be 60 miles an hour, 60 degrees, and 2 hours later be in the North Country where it's 35 and spitting snow, all in a matter of a couple hours. So snow, ice, reduced visibility, slippery roads. Imagine a driver slides through an intersection during winter weather and causes an accident involving injuries. Suddenly there are ambulance bills, emergency room treatment, physical therapy, vehicle replacement costs, lost wages, possible lawsuits. Without insurance, these costs can follow someone financially for years and years. And in many cases, the long-term cost of one uninsured accident is far greater than years of paying insurance premiums. Put up there on the screen, a winter weather crash could easily exceed $50,000 to $100,000. I think that's probably on the low end. We're seeing prices of cars going, up and up. Costs of replacing those cars, all the technology that's in cars nowadays to fix those cars is becoming more and more expensive. So $50,000 to $100,000 is not a number that is hard to reach in the event of a loss. Slide, please. So maintaining your coverage helps build insurance history. It helps improve your future rates. It helps to demonstrate responsibility, and it helps to protect your long-term finances. One mistake that drivers make is canceling insurance temporarily to save money. Student may be going off to college. I have a son that's in college right now, and he, may think he doesn't have a car with him on campus, so he doesn't need his auto insurance. Unfortunately, that can sometimes even make future insurance more expensive. Insurance companies will often view gaps in coverage as a warning sign and may charge higher premiums later. So maintaining continuous coverage can help build a stronger insurance history, can help keep your rates more stable over time, and can avoid complications after accidents. Insurance is not just about protecting a car, it protects future income, savings, and financial stability. You have coverages that you're entitled to as a passenger in a vehicle or as a pedestrian. So even though you may not be driving a vehicle, maintaining that insurance is important for you for a number of different reasons. We can go on to the next slide, please. This is a topic that we're seeing more and more of all the time, and that is people using their personal vehicles to earn extra income. So whether that be food delivery, whether that be package delivery for Amazon or even for the Postal Service, ride sharing apps. Many drivers don't realize that using a car for business purposes can affect insurance coverage. A standard personal auto policy may exclude commercial driving, may exclude delivery driving, delivery services, and carrying passengers for compensation. So that means that somebody could be involved in an accident while delivering food or transporting passengers, later discover their insurance does not fully cover the claim. And some of these companies like DoorDash or like Uber or Lyft, they will provide some very minimal coverage, but oftentimes it's not enough in the event of a multi-person accident, a multi-vehicle accident. So drivers should always inform their insurer if they're doing anything like this. Always talk to, we recommend that you work with an independent agent. Always talk to your agent and make sure they know that, hey, I'm doing DoorDash 2 nights a week, or I'm doing Lyft after school a couple days a week to help earn a little extra money. And those people will understand your situation, what activities are covered, what aren't, what needs to happen to your insurance to make those coverages affordable to you. It's much better to ask those questions beforehand than discover a coverage problem after an accident. Thank you. So technology is also changing the claim process. We're seeing technology all around us, and it's changing the way that people respond to accidents. It's changing the way that that carriers deal with their insureds who have just had an accident. Many insurance companies offer mobile apps, which allow you to document accidents, to upload photographs, exchange information, and to begin a claim much quicker than if you had to call back in the old day, leave a message and wait for a claim adjuster to call you back. These things can be started immediately. These apps can be extremely helpful after an accident because they help to preserve information immediately while that information is still fresh in your mind. However, there are also some safety concerns. Distracted driving remains one of the leading causes of accidents, as Trooper Kennedy spoke about, especially among younger drivers. Drivers should never attempt to use apps, take photos, or send messages while actively operating a vehicle. Always pull over to the side, make sure you and you're safe in your surroundings, and then begin to use these apps. So pull over safely, check for injuries, contact emergency services if necessary, then begin documentation for insurance purposes. Slide, please. So oftentimes, a question we get is, what can I do? I'm 16, I'm 17, 18 years old. What can I do to help to try to save some money on insurance premiums? Or parents are asking us, what can I do? What can I tell my son or my daughter in order to get them to save a little bit of money. These premiums are very expensive. Some of the things we've talked about: avoid distracted driving, follow speed limits, wear your seat belts, limit distractions from passengers. Safe driving habits help to prevent accidents, protect lives, reduce tickets, and lower insurance premiums. Many insurance companies offer discounts for good students. I'm very fortunate. Both my boys were good students in high school and continue to be in college, so they do get a good student discount. You can take defensive driving courses. Many carriers will offer a defensive driving credit if you take something through AAA or through, I think even the Department of Safety might have a class as well, defensive driving. And there are safe driver monitoring programs as well. You'll hear companies like Progressive use Slingshot. That's something that plugs into the OBD port in your car. It will detect hard braking. It will detect speeding, and you, assuming that you're a good driver in their eyes, that will help to take some of the pain from the premium away. Even small improvements in driving habits can add up and make a difference over time. So our final slide. To conclude, safe driving and insurance really go hand in hand. Insurance may feel expensive, especially for younger operators, but the financial consequences of driving uninsured can be far more severe. Drivers who use their vehicles for delivery or for ride-share work should also understand how commercial activity may affect their coverage. Talk to an agent, talk to one of your independent agents. Those folks are the best informed, best educated to be able to help you navigate through what you might be doing as far as commercial activity. And while technology can help to simplify accident reporting, safe driving habits remain the most important protection of all. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I'm not seeing any questions right now, but we'll take a second to remind our viewers that we're happy to answer any questions if they put them into the chat window. While we wait a minute for that, I'll turn it back over to Trooper Kennedy to see if he has any final thoughts.
Oof, yeah, that was a good presentation there by Adam. He hits a lot of the points, especially with the uninsured drivers, and that the point of if you're not carrying car insurance, and we do see these on occasion in New Hampshire, we cover crashes where a driver doesn't carry car insurance, and if there's bodily injury involved, or if they're deemed to be at fault, the state can actually then require them to carry insurance and potentially suspend your driver's license because you are now deemed what they consider a financial responsibility on the road. So yeah, just touching on all those other points, just make good decisions, whether you're our youth drivers, our teen drivers out there, youth operators, our parents, set those good examples as well. I mean, it's we always try to do our best out here. The New Hampshire State Police is committed and dedicated, obviously, to highway safety and traffic safety. But getting the word out and prevention as well is a huge step forward for us.
Well, we appreciate you being on the presentation. Commissioner Betancourt, any final thoughts?
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to thank Trooper Kennedy. That was a great presentation. And thanks, Chris. I think this was your first time doing a webinar for us, and you really, really hit it out of the park. Thanks so much. Great work. I'll conclude by saying this. Yeah, I'll conclude by saying this. Today's webinar has been focused on younger drivers, but there are a lot of really important reminders for all drivers that are on the road. And what we're talking about here are a couple of different critical themes, things like safety, freedom, finances, future opportunities. And I'll stress this point. Many drivers, would never imagine considering driving drunk or driving under the influence. But they also need to appreciate that distracted driving in a lot of ways is the new drunk driving. It can be just as dangerous. I recently saw a statistic that said looking at a phone for 5 seconds at 55 miles an hour is like driving the length of a football field with your eyes closed. And the point there is that most distracted driving crashes don't happen because someone is inherently reckless, or if someone is trying to do something they knowingly appreciate is dangerous. They happen because they thought this will only take a second. Nothing bad is going to happen. It's going to be the blink of an eye, and I'll be done with my phone, or I'll be done with whatever it is I'm doing, and I can, put my full attention back on the road. But I think as today's presentation has demonstrated, that 1 second or that 5 seconds in which you've decided that you've just got to look at that phone, or you're messing around with someone in the car, those can have consequences that go far, far, far beyond just that 5 seconds, whether it be injuring yourself, injuring someone else, God forbid, killing someone, as Trooper Kennedy cited, that poor young boy. Those are consequences, needless to say, that can go on for years, if not for the rest of your life. But as it pertains to insurance, again, it's not just the ticket that you're going to get. Maybe you think to yourself, well, I can pay that ticket. It might be expensive, but, my parents have money. They'll help me out with that. But again, it all becomes part of your driving history. It becomes part of your claims history, your violation record, your accident frequency. And those are all critical things that are on your insurance record and will be on your insurance record for many, many years, that are going to impact your premium and your ability to be able to find an insurer who's going to quote you a policy that you're going to be able to afford. So don't make a mistake that you think is only going to take seconds and have it be something that is going to haunt you and follow you for years and years and years. So think about that a little bit as you think through what you've heard during today's presentation.
Well, we certainly appreciate everyone. Thank you for joining us. This and all of our webinars can be found on our YouTube page, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Thanks again to our friends at the Department of Safety for joining us in this webinar. Appreciate everyone. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Thank you.